Good morning and welcome to session number 9, Educate and Elevate. I know it looks a little different today. I am actually pre-recording this morning to send to you. I had an opportunity to go for an appointment that is much needed, so I'm going to take care of me, but I also wanted to take care of you and maintain my commitment to delivering these sessions to you on Tuesdays. I hope that this season is all you hope for and more, and that you all are getting much needed time and some downtime with your families. I know I am looking forward to spending a few days of complete downtime. So I will see you next week, though. In any case, Educate and Elevate, session number 9, Education and Scholarships. I want to just give a little bit of a recap of service, of a heart of service recap. Session 8 reminded us that service is not just measured by projects completed or funds raised, but how people feel because we showed up. At the heart of every successful program is compassion, whether serving as chaplain, community service chair, or supportive member. Our roles call us to listen, to encourage, and to lead with empathy. We explored how meaningful service begins with intention and asked deeper questions. Who does this serve? How will it make them feel? What does this need truly mean? Participants reflected on planning projects with dignity, inclusivity, and care, ensuring that members feel proud to participate and those we serve feel respected and valued. From poppy distributions to community outreach, we discussed how transparency, thoughtful planning, and genuine connection transform service into impact. This session reinforced that leaders are not just organizers, they are caregivers of the mission. When service is guided by heart, it strengthens our units, deepens trust, and reminds us why we serve. The session 8 challenged us to lead with compassion, act with purpose, and remember the heart behind the service is what makes it unforgettable. The seed. Before we talk about education, before we talk about programs, scholarships, or partnerships, I want to take you somewhere else for just a moment. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable or just soften your gaze. I want you to think back to the first time you understood what service meant, not the definition, the feeling. Who was there? Maybe it was a parent who quietly modeled kindness. Maybe it was a teacher who stayed late to help you, or a veteran that told you an inspiring story, a church member, a neighbor, a coach, a grandparent. Someone who didn't just tell you what was right, they showed you. Now think about the tradition that shaped your values, the poppy that you were handed with a note in remembrance, the wreath placed with care, the flag folded just so, the moment you learned that remembering matters. The moment may have seemed small at the time, but here you are, serving. That was a seed. Most seeds of service are planted without applause, without titles, without anyone knowing the impact they'll have. And now I want you to imagine something else. A picture of a student sitting in a classroom today. A child watching you distribute a poppy. A teenager hearing, maybe for the first time, why we remember our veterans. They don't know it yet, but they're watching, they're listening, they're forming the story they'll tell one day about their service. What if you are that person for them? What if the explanation you give, the story you share, the invitation that you extend becomes the moment they remember years from now? Today, we're going to talk about education and scholarships and literacy and school partnerships. Remember this. We are not just teaching programs, we are teaching purpose. We are not just funding futures, we are planting seeds. And every seed of service matters. Our goals for today: by the end of this session, leaders will be able to confidently promote ALA's education and scholarship opportunities, build and sustain partnerships with schools and educators, identify literacy, tutoring, and back-to-school initiatives that fit their unit, and use storytelling to educate youth about the ALA traditions and service. Education through service is memorable. Education is storytelling. We don't just do the work, we explain the why behind the work and why we do what we do, what's in us. Education will connect history to the present, service to the purpose, and tradition to future generations. I love this quote, and it comes from just writing and rewriting and putting together, and then things stick. But education is how history learns to breathe in the present. When we teach the story, the mission lives on. That is so powerful in my heart. Why? Under the education and scholarships umbrella, we are called to explain the meaning behind our actions. We educate our youth on why we distribute the poppy, not as a decoration, but as a symbol of remembrance, sacrifice, and gratitude. Why we place the wreaths during Wreaths Across America, because saying a name out loud keeps a legacy alive year after year. Why we remember our veterans, not just once a year, but always, every day. Why we honor active duty military, because service doesn't stop here. And when a history book closes, we have to honor the now. When young people understand the why, service becomes personal, meaningful, and powerful. A little bit of what it looks like, and you always know that I talk about the real world leadership that was developed over this last year and continuing in Unit 23. And that was my story, and that's how we have moved forward. But what it looks like in action is you have to have education and service intersect. And efforts can demonstrate that the Unit 23's efforts demonstrated that schools are not just venues, they are partners. Presentations are not lectures, they are conversations. Youth are not future leaders, they're leaders in the making. And we intentionally went into elementary schools, junior high schools, and high schools to introduce students to the 4 pillars of the American Legion Auxiliary, the purpose behind the ALA programs, and how service connects generations. In partnering with the schools, it's practical leadership. You have to start with one relationship and you have to grow it from there. You get in for one thing and then start building upon it. And we did that with coats, gloves, and hats. And that was how we started. And that was how we grew into what we're doing today. Strong education programs began with those relationships. Ways that units can partner with schools: you can offer to do a presentation during assemblies or classroom sessions. You can support teachers with supplies and volunteer hours. They love for you to come and read or tutor. You can host literacy nights or reading challenges, provide the tutoring, as I said, or the mentoring support. You can partner on back to school supply drives, like backpacks. Think outside of the box, not just pencils and paper, and notebooks, something more. What else do those students need to get through on a daily basis without the stress of knowing, without the stress of thinking that they don't have what they need to succeed? You want to recognize students' achievements and milestones. Find a way to be able to celebrate what the students are doing. And we were able to partner with that through Point Pleasant Live. They do media and photos, and whenever we need that to happen, they come to us, and they actually highlighted our veterans this year, and that was an amazing piece on Veterans Day. Leadership begins with asking one simple question: how can we support what you are already doing? Remember, compliment what they're doing. Don't take over, just be an added part to that. Help to add value to what's already existing in your schools and in your communities. I've said that before. Some people have asked me, well, how did you do it? What did you do? So I created a little bit of a checklist that you have. Well, it's a comprehensive list here. But I want you to remember that education is legacy work, and every conversation plants a seed. And on this checklist, you can see it helps you to make a starting point before you reach out. Like, identify 1 to 2 local schools to start. Decide what age group you're going to work on. Choose one focused area and prepare a short description of who you are and what the ALA does. Always, always, always make sure that the students understand who you are and what you're doing, and in addition to what you are presenting or why you are in the school, because we want them to go home and say, hey, the American Legion Auxiliary was here today. They told us this. You want to be able to make the connection. You have to contact the school counselor, the principal, or the teacher. There's one step. Most everything that we do, has to be approved through our Board of Education office before it goes out. But we've built that relationship. But you start with someone to get you a name and a contact, and the how and the why. And then you want to ask how your unit can support the existing needs, as I've said. You want to offer specific ideas. Be flexible with your time and format, though, because sometimes you might need to go in at 8 o'clock in the morning versus 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or even after lunch. Planning the activity. You want to define the purpose of the visit. What are you there for? What are you going to talk to them about? But always connect an activity to the ALA mission and the 4 pillars. Prepare age-appropriate talking points, gather materials and volunteers. During the visit, you want to share the why behind the ALA traditions. Find a way to get it in there, not being lengthy, but find a way to be succinct and get it in there. You want to encourage questions and discussion. Encourage the students to talk. Don't make it a lecture, make it a conversation. You want to highlight service, leadership, and gratitude. Leave students feeling seen and valued. After the visit, thank the school and the educators. Share photos or a recap with their permission. Most likely they will have their own, and then put it on social media, but make sure you have permission and or signed forms, photo releases. You want to reflect on what worked well and discuss the next steps or future opportunities with them. It does work. Just build that relationship. And if you say you're going to do it, do it. I have found one of the most impactful tools that we have shared as a unit is sharing the 4 pillars directly with students. I do have a prepared presentation that works really well for interaction with the junior and senior high school students, as well as in elementary. So if anyone of you would like to see that or would like for me to go over that with you, please email me and ask me about that presentation. I would be certainly glad to help you adapt it to your area. When we walk into a school and explain Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, national security, Americanism, and children and youth programming, when we share them in the schools, they will build an understanding and encourage civic responsibility, and it will inspire service-minded thinking. We are not recruiting members, we are planting seeds of understanding. The members will come later. We seeds that grow into these seeds will grow into respect and gratitude and civic responsibility, and then that lifelong service that they will have with our auxiliary or the Legion family. Opening doors and changing lives. You have resources both on the American Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary website. If you type in scholarships on either one, it's going to bring you up the listings of all of them. And, additionally, you want to think about what your department is providing, but also what your unit can provide. And on Unit 23, we, up until this last year, had provided, well, up until 2 years ago, we presented two $500 scholarships, and we had help with our American Legion family for input. The son sponsored one, and then we had sponsored ones as well. Then we had a member that passed away, and her family gave money or donated money to our auxiliary. And so here I'm speaking of a creative way that you can start your own scholarship. Well, she was a past unit president. She also served as past District 4 president. And she gave so much of her time and efforts into our unit that when her family made us the recipient in lieu of flowers, we decided unanimously that we would create another scholarship. And so we created a scholarship fund, and the scholarship fund has grown, and we do fundraisers on a regular basis, like every month. Sometimes we have two going for the scholarships, but we provide that scholarship in her memoriam. And then, as you know, our past national president, Miles S. Epling, was our commander in our hometown and meant so much to us that we created our own American Legion Auxiliary Unit 23 in memory of Miles S. Epling. A scholarship that has a little bit of different requirements, and we made the requirements for his because he was so um, adamant and such a great supporter of the American Legion that this one requires the student to be a member, and also has to be a Point Pleasant High School graduate because that's where he graduated from. And so we did award that last year. We were able to get the funds raised for that. It is a $1,250 scholarship. And we now have our scholarship fund that is going to make that happen. So what I'm saying is there are creative ways that you can make these. So you can have a unit department at national levels to offer to your schools. And when you're going in talking to a guidance counselor saying, did you know that these are available? They don't have any idea that everything is out, that all the things that are out there for students. But we have a duty to go in and say, here are the national and department level and unit level scholarships that we have available for these students. Some of them may not fit into those parameters, but there are a lot of students that do. So it's our responsibility to offer it to them. And then that's an open door for you to start building a relationship. The ALA scholarships offer more than financial assistance. They're affirmations of potential, investments in leadership, bridges between service and education. And leaders should, and the last three bullets here are, actively promote the scholarships within the schools. They should ensure counselors and administrators know the deadlines, share the scholarship stories, not just the applications. Celebrate recipients publicly and proudly. And visibility matters. We were invited into the awards assembly to be able to present them publicly for the seniors the day before they graduate. And the whole auditorium is full. So we get to tell our story to all of those. It's a beautiful ceremony, and we're very thankful to be invited in and to be a part of it. So, in closing, here's my little charge for you. Education is where legacy begins. I want you to think about how you're going to go in and why you're going to go in and what you're going to do. When we teach the why, we explain the symbols. When we talk into schools with purpose, when we walk into schools with purpose, I misspoke there. Let me reverse. When we teach the why, when we explain the symbols, when we walk into schools with purpose, we don't just serve today, we shape tomorrow. I'm asking you to lead boldly, educate intentionally, and elevate every opportunity to inspire service. Up next week, December 30th at 11 a.m. I will see you. We will be talking about Be the One, the Be the One initiative. And I've got some information about that I really want to make sure that we highlight. And it will be very informative, and it will also be there's a story behind that, and we'll be able to help you to get that information out. And again, as always, you can contact me at 304-674-9908 and leadership at wbaux.org. And don't forget that registration is out for midwinter. If you haven't got your room, you need to give them a call. And also make sure you send in your registrations for that. And West Virginia, we have a ALA Academy Challenge. Check the spirit. You'll be glad you did, because get watching and get studying the ALA online academy. Got to log into your American Legion Auxiliary portal and go into ALA Academy and look at the plethora of information that is in there. But we do have a challenge going on. So somebody is going to win a very nice prize at midwinter. All right. Coach Rebecca checking out here, and thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to serve you.